Swedish defense firm Saab wants Canada to buy and build its fighter jets. The firm is pitching a partnership with Bombardier and promising to create up to 10,000 jobs along with it.
Canada to do their own upgrades, to build parts of it, to do final assembly and tests. We, as Saab, we are prepared to do that technology transfer to Canada and support that build.
The company that makes the Gripen has told CTV News that 10,000 manufacturing and research jobs could land in Canada if Ottawa adds the Swedish fighter jet to its military fleet.
Something subtle yet consequential is unfolding within NATO, and it is not being announced through speeches, communiques, or ceremonial summits. Instead, the signal is emerging through aircraft selections, operational thinking, and a quiet discomfort with assumptions that once felt permanent. At the center of this unease is Sweden's F-35 Gripen, an aircraft never designed to dominate headlines, yet now prompting a discussion few anticipated. This is not a story about abandoning alliances or dismissing advanced technology. It is a story about resilience, sovereignty, and whether modern air power can endure when conditions deteriorate faster than strategy predicts. That Canada's fighter replacement program was long framed as a routine modernization effort, a straightforward transition from aging CF-18s to a next-generation platform prepared to serve for decades. On paper, the logic appeared clean and procedural. Retire worn airframes, introduce superior technology, close operational gaps, and continue the mission uninterrupted. Beneath that orderly narrative, however, the real debate was never confined to performance metrics or procurement timelines. It centered on how Canada actually conducts air defense, where it must operate, and what happens when geography and conflict refuse to cooperate. Canada patrols the second largest national airspace on Earth, extending deep into the Arctic across vast distances, where infrastructure is sparse and weather conditions are among the harshest anywhere. Northern bases are remote, logistics chains are fragile, and response times can determine strategic credibility. Meanwhile, Russian bomber activity along northern approaches has increased, and the Arctic itself has regained geopolitical importance. In such an environment, the defining question shifts. It is no longer only about stealth or technological superiority, but about survivability, about which aircraft can remain operational when ideal conditions disappear. The Gripen enters this conversation from perspective rarely shared by modern fighters. It was conceived with the expectation that the opening phase of conflict would be chaotic, destructive, and hostile to centralized control. Swedish planners assumed air bases would be struck early, command networks disrupted, and reinforcements delayed. Those assumptions shaped every engineering and operational decision. The aircraft can launch from short or damaged runways, and even operate from sections of public roadway. Small ground crews using minimal equipment can refuel and rearm it rapidly. Dispersal, mobility, and sustained availability were built into the concept from the beginning, where many advanced fighters depend on secure bases and carefully maintained infrastructure to deliver peak capability. The Gripen assumes such advantages may vanish almost immediately. This philosophy reflects a Cold War doctrine in Sweden that never fully faded, one grounded in decentralization and national survival rather than early dominance. In that worldview, effective air power is measured not only by what an aircraft can do on the first day of war, but by whether it can still function after days or weeks of disruption. These ideas become particularly relevant in the Arctic. Extreme cold stresses materials and electronics. Enormous distances complicate maintenance and resupply. Satellite coverage can be inconsistent, and redundancy is limited by geography. Under those conditions, independence of operation, rapid turnaround, and logistical simplicity become as valuable as raw combat performance. The Gripen was designed for precisely such realities, not as theory, but as a practical response to Sweden's environment and strategic history. The contrast with the F-35 helps explain why this discussion has unsettled planners. The F-35 embodies a different doctrine built around deep integration, centralized logistics, and an interconnected web of sensors, software, and data links. Its advantages are substantial: unmatched sensor fusion, powerful strike capability, and seamless interoperability across allied forces. Yet these strengths rely on assumptions about secure infrastructure, uninterrupted maintenance networks, continuous software support, and reliable digital connectivity. In a contested Arctic conflict, where adversaries would deliberately target networks, satellites, and supply chains, those assumptions become less certain. This does not mean one aircraft is universally superior to the other. Rather, the Gripen introduces an uncomfortable strategic question. It prioritizes autonomy over dependence and sustained availability over theoretical dominance. Its systems are intended to function even when communications degrade and centralized support falters. Technically, it may not match every advanced feature of stealth-focused platforms, but may prove harder to neutralize through disruption alone. The possibility that the most technologically sophisticated aircraft is not always the most survivable under prolonged pressure challenges long-standing beliefs about air superiority. National control adds another dimension to the debate. The F-35 operates within a tightly managed multinational framework governing software, mission data, electronic warfare libraries, and upgrade cycles. This structure enables unprecedented coalition coordination, yet also constrains independent modification and timing. Access, integration, and updates depend on shared processes beyond any single nation's authority. The Gripen follows a contrasting model centered on sovereignty. Operators retain full control over mission data, can integrate weapons independently, configure software nationally, and determine their own upgrade schedules. For a country like Canada, facing vast territory, uncertain crisis timelines, and the need for autonomous response, such control carries strategic significance. It reduces reliance on external approval during emergencies and removes ambiguity about operational readiness when pressure is greatest. None of this diminishes the importance of stealth, alliances, or technological integration. These remain foundational to modern defense planning. The deeper issue is whether a single, highly centralized system can serve every operational environment equally well. Geography, threat perception, and national doctrine still matter. When even one NATO member seriously examines alternatives without rejecting cooperation, it signals an evolution in thinking. Smaller allied nations with limited budgets notice such shifts quickly. Air forces responsible for remote or austere regions recognize their own challenges in the discussion. Gradually, the conversation moves away from exclusivity toward adaptability, from singular solutions toward diversified resilience. What is emerging inside NATO is not division, but reconsideration, a quiet acknowledgement that survivability, sovereignty, and sustainability may define the next era of air power as much as stealth and sophistication once did. That shift challenges more than procurement timelines or budget calculations. It calls into question an entire model of air power built on uniformity, centralization, and the assumption of secure operating conditions. Despite widespread speculation, the debate was never about abandoning the F-35 or distancing from cooperation with the United States. No credible air force dismisses the advantages of stealth, sensor fusion, and coalition integration. The real issue has always been balance. Modern conflict does not promise intact runways, protected logistics, or uninterrupted digital connectivity. Adversaries now target air bases, fuel depots, satellites, and communication networks at the very beginning of hostilities. In such an environment, concentrating capability in a small number of highly complex platforms create a vulnerability that technological sophistication alone cannot remove. A diversified force structure offers a way to reduce that exposure. Within this framework, the Gripen emerges not as a replacement for advanced stealth aircraft, but as a strategic hedge. It is designed to remain operational when networks fracture, infrastructure is damaged, and centralized command struggles to maintain tempo. By sustaining presence and absorbing operational pressure, such aircraft help protect higher-end assets from being overwhelmed early in a conflict. The objective shifts from dominance through perfection to survivability at scale, rather than diminishing advanced platforms. This approach strengthens them by ensuring they are supported by systems built for endurance under disruption. Air-power doctrine across NATO has gradually begun to reflect this reality. Fixed installations are increasingly viewed as early targets rather than reliable sanctuaries. Runways can be cratered, maintenance facilities disabled, and fuel supplies interrupted with relative ease. Concentrating aircraft in a few pristine bases may improve efficiency in peacetime, but it reduces resilience in war. Distributed operations reverse that equation. Smaller detachments, multiple launch sites, rapid relocation, and built-in redundancy allow air forces to absorb shocks while continuing to function. Aircraft capable of dispersed basing transform this concept from theory into practical capability. The Gripen aligns naturally with this operational philosophy. Its ability to launch from highways, remote airstrips, and damaged runways enables dispersion and unpredictability. Centralized coordination still matters, but it no longer becomes a single point of failure. Missions can continue despite degraded communications, damaged infrastructure, or sustained pressure. High-end strike aircraft are not replaced in this model. They are preserved by preventing the early paralysis that concentrated vulnerability can produce. Endurance, rather than spectacle, becomes a defining measure of effectiveness. From Washington's perspective, the concern extends beyond the loss of a potential sale. What matters more is the precedent such debates may establish. If allied nations increasingly demand sovereign control over software, greater operational autonomy, and flexible basing concepts, the broader architecture of Western air power begins to evolve. Standardization gives way to modularity, and centralization yields ground to resilience. The implications of such a shift reach far beyond any single aircraft program or procurement cycle. The Gripen does not surpass the F-35 in raw technological capability, yet it reframes the central strategic question. Instead of asking which aircraft can dominate contested skies, planners begin asking which air force can survive the opening phase of a modern high-intensity conflict. Canada has not finalized its long-term force balance, but the signal from its deliberations is already visible. It has been communicated not through confrontation or rhetoric, but through careful reflection on geography, threat environment, and operational necessity in that context. The Gripen's message to Canada is straightforward. Defending national airspace should not depend on flawless infrastructure or external permission. Its implicit message, the stealth-centered doctrine, is sharper. Air dominance loses meaning if it cannot be sustained under disruption. And its broader message to NATO is deeper still. Resilience, operational, logistical, and sovereign, may define the next era of air power more than technological elegance alone. Air forces across the alliance are watching closely because the challenge was never directed at a single aircraft. It was aimed at the assumptions supporting an entire system. Once those assumptions begin to fracture, the structure built upon them cannot remain unchanged at the same time. Tensions surrounding Canada's fighter decision have recently intensified.